Ash. There is a place, hidden deep in the mountains, where men live who have not touched water in decades. Their skin is not brown, not black, not white. It is gray, because from the moment the sun rises to the moment it sets, they smear themselves with ash. Ash from burnt bodies, ash from cremated corpses, ash from animals sacrificed at midnight rituals. They believe water cleans the outside, but ash cleans the soul. That the residue of death itself is the only substance pure enough to strip away the filth of being alive. They rub it into their hair, into their beards, into every fold of their bodies. Some spend their entire lives coated in it, refusing to bathe even once, because they believe a single drop of water would undo years of spiritual cleansing. Imagine standing beside one of them. The smell alone would tell you a story. The smell of the dead, the smell of fire, the smell of a man who has convinced himself that the ashes of the departed are the doorway to God. And this is only the first method on our list. Ice now. Travel from those gray mountains to a lake so cold that the water itself is turning to stone. It is winter. The temperature is below freezing. Frost has climbed halfway up the trees on the shoreline. And into this lake, hundreds of naked men and women are walking, one after another, until they stand chest-deep in ice. They do not scream. They do not shiver visibly. They stand there, sometimes for 6 hours, sometimes for 12, chanting under their breath while their skin turns blue and their lips lose all color. Some collapse in the water. A few every year never walk back out. But those who survive believe something remarkable, that the sins clinging to their souls have literally melted into the ice, and that the pain of the cold is the price of a soul reborn. There is a chilling logic to it if you think about it. If pleasure created the sin, only pain can dissolve it. And the deeper the pain, the deeper the purification. This is the philosophy that drives millions of people across the world every single year to hurt themselves in ways no modern mind can comprehend. Fire. But if ice can wash a soul, why not flames? Somewhere else on this earth, in a courtyard filled with worshippers, 5 separate fires are being lit in a perfect circle. And in the exact center of that circle, a man sits down, cross-legged, completely naked, and begins to meditate. Above him is the summer sun, blazing at 40 degrees. Around him, 4 bonfires are being fed with dry wood until their flames leap higher than his head. His skin blisters. Sweat pours from him at first, and then stops, because there is no water left in him to sweat. And still he does not move. This is called the ritual of the 5 fires, and its purpose is chillingly simple. If your body can endure this, they teach, then every impurity clinging to your soul will burn away, and what walks out of that circle at sunset will be a purer version of you than what walked in at sunrise. Ask yourself something. If you truly believed that 8 hours of unimaginable pain could erase every wrong you had ever committed, would you do it? Because there are people right now on this planet who are doing it. And they believe with absolute certainty that their gods are watching and pleased. Hair. You would think that after fire and ice, nothing else could shock you. But there is a ritual that takes place in silent monasteries where the sound of weeping fills the halls for hours. It is called the plucking, not shaving, not cutting, plucking. The men and women who undergo it sit on the floor, and one by one they pull the hair from their scalp, strand by strand, root and all, with their bare fingers. It takes hours. The scalp begins to bleed after the first few minutes. The pain is so extreme that many faint before it is finished. But they believe something so specific that the pain is worth it. They believe that every single hair on the human head is attached to one specific sin, one specific attachment, one specific chain that ties the soul to this dying world. And the only way to be free is to rip each chain out by its root. When they finish, they stand up bald, bloody, and, in their eyes, reborn. A new person, a blank page. Because if the old you was built strand by strand, the new you must begin the same way. Silence. Not every method involves the body. Some involve something far more terrifying, the mind. There are men and women who take a vow of silence not for a day, not for a month, but for years. Some for decades, some for the rest of their lives. They wake up in the morning and do not speak. They eat, they walk, they work, they cry, they pray, all without a single word passing their lips. They communicate with hand gestures, with written notes, with the movement of their eyes. And they believe that the tongue is the single dirtiest organ in the human body, not because of what it tastes, but because of what it says. Every lie, every gossip, every angry word, every arrogant claim. By locking the tongue away, they believe they lock away the ability to sin at its source. And when they finally speak again, sometimes 10 years later, the first word they utter is treated as sacred, as if they had just been born and had opened their mouth for the very first time. Think about that. There are human beings living silent lives right now, this moment, because they believe silence itself is the highest form of worship. Piercing. And then there are those who believe purification cannot be quiet. It must be loud. It must bleed. Once a year, in certain places, streets fill with men and women who have driven metal hooks through the skin of their backs, through their cheeks, through their tongues, through every part of the body a needle can pass through. They do not stop there. Ropes are attached to those hooks, and heavy carts, sometimes weighing hundreds of pounds, are tied to the ropes, and these men walk for miles, dragging the carts behind them, the skin of their backs stretching, tearing, bleeding down their legs. Musicians walk alongside them, crowds cheer, their families weep, and still they walk. Why? Because they believe that pleasure and comfort are what feed the sinful soul, and only agony can starve it out. That every drop of blood spilled in that walk is one drop of sin drained from the body. And when they collapse at the end of the road, hollow-eyed and covered in wounds, they smile. Because in their minds, they have paid the price that the gods demanded, in the currency of their own flesh. Hair offering. There is a river, in a country you have likely never visited, where the water is not blue. It is black with ash, thick with flowers, and littered with something else, hair. Millions of pounds of human hair floating in the current, sinking to the riverbed, being carried out toward the sea. Every day, thousands of pilgrims arrive at the banks of this river. They shave their heads completely until not a single strand remains. And then they take those shorn locks and cast them into the water. It is called the offering of the crown, and it is not a small ritual, it is a rebirth ceremony. The hair, they believe, carries the identity, the ego, the pride, the history, the sins of the person who grew it. Cutting it and giving it to the river is the symbolic drowning of the old self. When they walk away from that river, they are supposed to be new. A new name in the register of the divine. And a river filled with the shed identities of millions of human beings continues to flow, day after day, year after year, carrying the past out to the ocean. Cow. If everything so far has shocked you, prepare yourself. Because the next method may test the limits of what you thought human beings were capable of believing. There are entire communities where an animal, an ordinary, four-legged, grass-eating animal, is considered so holy that everything that comes out of its body is treated as the purest substance on earth. Its urine is collected in golden vessels. Its dung is dried and used to smear the walls of homes. Its milk is one thing, but the mixture of 5 products, urine, dung, milk, curd, and clarified fat, is prepared as a drink, and people drink it, willingly, joyfully, as a form of spiritual cleansing. They wash their faces with it. They bathe their newborn children in it. They believe that consuming what comes from this animal is consuming holiness itself, and that no other substance on earth can cleanse the human soul as thoroughly. Read that again and let it settle. There are millions of educated modern human beings today who begin their morning by drinking the urine of an animal because they have been taught, generation after generation, that this is the path to purity. Bone. Deeper still into human history, there were tribes, and some remnants of these traditions still survive, who took purification to a place so dark that even documenting it feels heavy. They would visit the burial grounds where bodies had been cremated. They would gather the leftover fragments, pieces of bone that had not fully burned, teeth, skull fragments, and they would chew them, not eat them, chew them, slowly, meditatively, as part of a ritual that could last hours. They believed that death was the ultimate purifier, and that by taking death itself into the body, By absorbing the remnants of the dead, they could cleanse themselves of the fear, the desire, the pride, and the greed that came from being alive. Imagine the darkness of that belief, that in order to feel spiritually clean, you must literally consume the residue of the dead. It sounds impossible until you realize that in the long, strange history of human religion, there is almost no idea, no matter how disturbing, that someone somewhere has not believed with their whole heart. The river. We end with the strangest of them all, a river that is, by every scientific measurement, one of the most polluted bodies of water on the planet. Half-burnt corpses drift in its current, human ash sinks into its riverbed. Industrial waste, sewage, animal remains, plastic, all of it pours into this single river. And yet, every single day, hundreds of thousands of people wade into it. They cup its water in their hands. They drink it. They pour it over their heads. They dip their children into it. They believe, with a faith that no laboratory report can shake, that this water, this dirty, dangerous, disease-filled water, washes away every sin they have ever committed. They believe that a single dip in this river cancels lifetimes of wrongdoing. Doctors have measured the water. It contains bacteria at levels that should kill a healthy adult within days. And yet the pilgrims keep coming, because to them, purification is not chemistry. It is not hygiene. It is faith. And their faith tells them that this river, and only this river, is the doorway between the impure human and the pure soul.